Let's go to the point of tonight's episode as we are 45 minutes in. This is what you came for. This is what we're here to talk about. But let's talk coaches. These coaches are in line or have a chance to have a standout season at the first year with their school going into the 2025 college football season. JP, I'll let you go first. Name a name. Tell us why you think this guy is in line to have a standout first year.
Standout first year could go in multiple different ways, right? I took it as it's going to be a night and day difference almost from the former regime, wherever you're at. I'll go kind of chalky here. How about Tim Albin going to Charlotte? I think that's a complete culture change. It's a coaching upgrade in just the strategy of it all and the team itself. The players are going to be better. The American is gettable in the middle of that conference, right? I think we usually see one or two, maybe three towards the top that kind of run the conference, but the middle to the bottom of that flips every year. And so there's a real shot here that Charlotte could find themselves bowling. And I'm not going to say they are for sure, but there's a real shot 6-7 wins is in the cards within the American when you go get a coach like that and you revitalize the whole program and what it is. So Tim Albert for me is a big one.
I like that pick.
I was just tack on JP's point. I think I've heard like Charlotte fans actually, even though it's a big metropolitan area, people care. Like they actually have a good fan base. And you got to think like it's a younger like school in Division One. I think they've only been around 10, 15 years. I think there's money there. Like, and you're in a big area where I think you have an opportunity to recruit at that level. I don't know. It feels like that's why they went and got this hire for Tim Albin, because I think they see they could strike a gold mine within the AAC if this works out.
All right, Jake, you're up. Give us your coach in line for a standout first year.
I don't know how many we'll name, but all of mine are Mountain West coaches to at least give you a hint or the heads
There's
up.
a big overhaul out there. That's fair.
There is. I'm just trying to decide which one I'll take first. We'll go Matt Entz at Fresno. I think that has an opportunity to be big. He was out in California as the linebackers coach at USC last year. So now he's got a little bit of a lay of the land and can see where the recruiting lacks in the state of California and where they could maybe take advantage of it. If you guys don't remember where he came from before USC, North Dakota State, where he was there for numerous years, won national titles there. I just think he was after Kleiman, and this is a guy who he's kind of like rounded out in the March Madness sort of way. If he's like Ben McCollum at Drake, I think you get him from a smaller school. He's a born winner. I think he's going to figure out how to do it. And just like Charlotte and AAC, actually, it's not even like Charlotte. Fresno is a proven commodity in the Mountain West. It is one of the best fan bases there. It really is a good stadium where a lot of people do care, and they have produced good talent. They had Mikey Keene last year, and I think they were in my Mountain West title prediction last summer.
Incredible quarterback play through Fresno.
Yeah, right. And Devontae Adams, and like the list goes on and on. Just unforeseen circumstances last year, but I think that was a good roster, and I think Entz can take them back towards the top of the league once again, and I don't think it's going to take too much. Also, JP, just see who his tight ends coach is.
I did not.
Try Brian Ferentz.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he went out to California.
Yep. So he's
Can't
out there.
say I was keeping tabs on him.
Hey, he's building a veteran coaching staff. I got to give it to the guy. I think he's going to have a good first year.
All right, I'll give my first pick, and this one I'm going to stay in the Power Four for this one. I feel like it's also tough for me to make thumbnails for all these shows and not include some of my picks. You can probably take a guess. I'm going to stick in the center, Jake Dickert over at Wake Forest, how bad they were from, you remember the days of Sam Hartman when Wake Forest was 7-0, 6-0, playing in the spotlight, and you were like, this is awesome. They're great. How far they fell off when Notre Dame fleeced him was astonishing. This is just a bad ACC football team. In comes Jake Dickert, who's going to be a good coach for them. Top 20 in the last 2 years over at Washington State. He won 2 of the last 3 Apple Cups, and the one he lost to Washington was the year they played in the national championship. Like, this guy knows how to win against tough teams. Posted a 14-6 non-con record in his time at Washington State. And Washington State's a team that everybody kind of wrote off when they were kind of left in the middle of the pack too. So he still had John Mateer. He's recruited good athletes to his school. I think he can take a massive step forward from the piss poor ball Wake Forest has played and make them maybe a middle of the pack to maybe a shining star out of nowhere in the ACC this year.
Guys just burying Dave Clawson tonight. I thought Dave had some okay years there. I think
Dave's a miracle worker with what Wake has to offer. I think
Wake's a tough job.
It's a tough job, but at the same time, like you bring in a young guy that's going to be way fired up to be part of that program. I think I agree. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I like it. I think this program can go somewhere and maybe get back to those 6-0, 7-0 start Sam Hartman days. At least revitalize it because I like the brand, and I think Dicker can do some special things there. So that is mine. Back down to JP for your second pick.
Yeah, I'll go to the Mountain West here. I think this is a hire that it's kind of going under the radar. But when you see what he did at a school that's not prone to winning, like it's really hard to go win in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Bronco Mendenhall, Utah State. This is a Utah State program who's had good years in the 2010s and in the 20s. This isn't like we've been talking about a program that's been a cellar dweller in the Mountain West. No, this is a program that was really good for a while, kind of had a slow start in the last couple of years. And Mendenhall's a winner. He won at BYU. He was really good at Virginia for a while. Goes down to New Mexico. They go from zero to hero pretty quick. Now it's a different. You're not bringing Dampier with you to Utah State, but he Mendenhall knows how to win the state of Utah, and that's a program with money, with resources, with a real fan base too. If we're being honest, like they weren't too many steps off last year. Yeah. I mean, they had a coach step down before the season, but I think this is a hire that can really make Utah State fight with the Colorado State, fight with the Fresno State. When Wyoming hopefully gets back up to the top end of that conference, like this is one of those schools that can fight for a shot to get into that title game every year.
I like
JP,
that.
You said it too. Like his success at BYU, like he knows the area. Like he's had success with recruiting. BYU's got a little more money now in the NIL space, but like there's not a huge difference between athletes you recruit at BYU and Utah State.
And one thing that I've learned, like just like visiting out to Utah a couple times, if you went to Utah State, like you're a Utah State fan, like you might support some Utah things or some BYU things here or there, but like you're an Aggie, like that's what you kind of do and that's what you support. So that's really cool because that's a program, like I said, with a hell of a following and is really used to winning in some ways in hoops and on the gridiron too.
Utah, they have underrated athletes. Like you wouldn't see it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out in Salt Lake City and Utah in general now. There's some studs out there.
Jake, you're up. Next pick for your coach on the brink of an impact first season.
That was a good pick. That was 2 of my 3. So I'll just go. My last one was Bronco, and my last one's Dan Mullen. I just think the way he finished up at Florida is just kind of one of those things where it's really historically rich SEC school. They demand the cream of the crop, the best of the best. We'll see. Like maybe there was before Billy Napier turned it around at the end of last year. It was like, should we have fired Dan? Like we see him on ESPN. He's having this great time. He has these fun offenses, but did we make a mistake, pulling the trigger too early on him? So I really think Mullen still knows how to coach. And I think he's going to a place where there's a bunch of money, there's great resources, there's still good talent there, and he's going to bring his fun offensive scheme out to Vegas. And I think it's just the perfect fit for that league. We said it the other day. I know, Parks, you said this was last week. You said Barry Odom at Purdue was in one of your with Painter and Odom was one of the best duos of football and basketball coaches.
Potentially.
I'm out on the Barry Odom train. I think UNLV right now is one of the best, G5 programs out there. And I think almost anybody can win. And I would love to see what Dan Mullen can do. We brought in Alex Orji. Excited to see what he can do with a couple of quarterbacks there. But I think UNLV isn't going to skip a beat after Odom left for Purdue.
All right, I'll go to my next pick and final one because Dan Mullen was on my list. But let's talk a little bit. Everybody wants to probably mention him again in the cover of the episode. Bill Belichick over at North Carolina, right? Like you got some money to play with there. You're in the ACC. I think the football program is a couple steps behind where maybe people realize like nobody knows that they don't have club seating available at their football stadium. Fun fact maybe of the night for you.
Mm-hmm.
But they still have gotten guys from the transfer portal that have been interesting back in the Mac Brown days, like Max Johnson last year, who goes down in game 1 with an injury. If they can avoid big blowups like that and not have Jacoby Brisswell throw 19 interceptions against App State, like all of a sudden, here we go. Like North Carolina can be competitive again and find themselves in the top of the picture of the ACC. But like they got guys there like Omarion Hampton, who was the debatably top 10 running back in the country. So they have the ability to recruit and the money to do so. And now with the ties to the NFL, I feel like they can make a massive turnaround or at least get in the back of the top half of the ACC just in Bill Belichick's first year. What do you think about that, JP?
Yeah, confident, GA. I don't know about confident.
Confident.
But I think for me, it's like to win at North Carolina, you're going into a football school. You know there's money in Chapel Hill. But I just don't know, like
you're going into a basketball school.
Yeah, basketball school.
Okay.
It's a tough job to win at and consistently win at. I think it's a school that can get the right ACC schedule and go win 9 games one random year or 10.
Yep.
But to say that he's just going to make them a top end ACC program, I just don't believe, because that's not a program or a fan base or a school that's shown that it's really bought in being that.
Yeah. Fair place to put it. 2 opposite sides of the table. Where you land on Bill Belichick, Jake?
I'd have to go back and really check the roster, and obviously we'll do that in April and May probably May and June when they come out with magazines, and you're really after the spring portal and everything's closed, like to really know what he has in his hands for a roster next year. I'm not necessarily sure. Confidence is it's like a 1 out of 10 for me, because I think the ceiling could be pretty high, 9, 10 wins. But I think the floor could be as low as it gets, 3 wins. I really do think that. But maybe that's just me being skeptical on an old head football coach. But I don't think the guy forgot how to coach football. I know it's going to be a different change, but I'm pretty sure he didn't forget how to coach football. Once this March Madness stuff's over, it's going to be a big talking point. It's going to be like, is 7 wins a successful season for Bill Belichick? Right now in March, I would probably say so, but we'll just have to wait and see. Honestly, like I really want to know what they have for a roster before I really see anything.
Yeah, and it's a fair point coming in here from Jay Bird that one thing about Bill Belichick is he does know how to win. Fair enough. That's also very fair place to put it. One of the best and most storied all-time coaches within the NFL. We'll see if it translates down to the college level. Any more names out there, JP? Did you have any more on your list?
I had one more, but it was one that I'm like, I think it's going to take a year or two. Dow Loggins at App. That's a program that cannot sit in the middle to the bottom of the Sun Belt. They won't accept it. And so you go get a guy who is a proven offensive coordinator, proven commodity at the pro level as an assistant. Hey, I mean, I think it's a good hire, because when App was good, look at those offenses and quarterbacks they had at the helm. In the running backs too, right? They had a lot of good running backs through the years. And so to go get an offensive-minded guy, I think helps him out a ton. But I do think App's like a year or 2 away. If he can go get set up and then find his way in the portal to go get guys who maybe bounce back or hit his stride in recruiting. So that's why I kind of left him out.
All right, there it is. That is our full list of coaches.